Hi, I'm Ashley Adamson, and this is my channel. We talk about personal growth development topics and a lot of stuff pertinent to trans women. So, if you're a trans woman or if you're just a person who's introspective, here we go. We're going to talk about this stuff. So today I'm just going to be doing a Q&A. I've got like a lot of questions to go through, and I'm just going to see how many of these I can answer. So, my first question is. Thank you, Ashley, for your responses. Oh, by the way, I'm getting this from my Discord. And if you're trans or trans questioning and you'd like to join the Discord, you can go ahead and hit that link on my YouTube page, I think. It just says the Discord link there. It should also probably be in the description, I think. So this comes from Bridgette. Hey, thank you, Ashley. Your response mirrors what I eventually muddled through. In reality, as naked as coming out trans first felt, now full femme presenting, my work colleagues don't know much more of my personal life. I think earlier I felt like I was just going to explain myself and justify my transness. Well, that was not a question. But thank you anyways, Bridgette, and I can totally relate. This has been something I've been mulling over, which is like, I started trans identifying and non-binary. And now that I'm like more fully transitioned female, I'm starting to come back to like, am I actually just non-binary and I prefer to present in a binary way, so that way people are just going to accept me because it's easier for them to process and it's easier for me to just deal with my life? Or am I happy femme presenting? Oh God, what is this? It's like I'm happy femme presenting. Don't get it twisted. I'm happy femme presenting, but sometimes I don't feel like I am being femme, if that makes sense. And so it does kind of make me still feel a little bit weird when some people say she is saying this or she's doing that. I go like, huh? They say she. Am I a she? It doesn't feel like it's exactly me. And he wouldn't make any sense either. So maybe I am non-binary. I've touched on this topic a few times, but I'm a non-binary trans femme perhaps, but in a femme presenting manner. We'll see. I don't know. Like, gender is kind of like this ever-flowing evolution, right? I think where I'm at now is great. I'm gonna get bottom surgery. That's great. If I had to choose between male and female, I'm choosing female. It's just a better choice for me. It makes me happier. But internally, sometimes I still feel that gender fluidity that I started out with on my journey. But living life as a woman is actually a lot easier for other people to process, and also easier for me. Like, what the fuck do you wear in your wardrobe if you're non-binary? It's like you gotta like keep trying to break down these boundaries and present, and it's just like so much effort. I just like to like look cute in a dress or something. Okay, this is another thing from. All right, so that's just a comment. All right, so Melody, did you have an egg crack, and did you do a video explaining what yours was, if any? This seems to be a common and powerful experience, yet uniquely individual to each woman. Not everyone has an egg crack, of course, but your video certainly cracked mine. I hear that. I hear it cracks a bunch of people. I've been sitting here watching. Oh, and then follow up. It's 2 a.m. I've been sitting here for the last 6 hours just obsessively watching your channel, which is just a very normal cis thing to do. Yeah, the fascination of my channel, definitely for cracking some eggs for sure. But yeah, did you have an egg crack? Yeah, so I definitely had an egg crack, and it was definitely in stages. I would say the first stage was recognizing that I was not cis. I can't really thoroughly recognize that as like a moment, but moving from non-binary to trans woman was definitely like that happened because I had taken Molly, I had gone out to a music festival in San Francisco, and everyone had been using she pronouns with me, and I went back to my partner at the time and said, they use she pronouns on me. And then she was like, well, how does that make you feel? And I'm on Molly, and I'm like, it makes me feel good. And then once I kind of searched within myself to find that felt good, it was like a bookshelf had kind of like fallen over, and I'd been holding the bookshelf up for so long because there's just like a ton of baggage dealing with the fact that you are, that with the idea that you could be trans and that you could be perhaps in the wrong gender, there's so much baggage there, right? And so like, wouldn't it be like, it's a very normal coping mechanism to just kind of want to hold all of that back and to just hold it up with as much energy as possible. But if you're always holding that energy all the time, you're kind of missing out on a larger surface area of your power, of who you are. And this doesn't just like a trans story. This is just like an any person story, right? Like, if you are holding things back that are traumatic or that you don't want to process or you don't want to deal with, you're still holding it, right? And yeah, you're going to get stronger and your muscles are going to be better and you're going to figure out better denial systems where it's like not even readily apparent in your consciousness, but it's still there. And when you have downtime and when you have safe space to just examine and look a little closer as to what's going on, that's incredibly valuable. Like, I'm a huge believer and always believe in yourself and believe in the growth believing in the investments of growth are going to pay off for you. That's what I believe in. And so that's why I make this channel, right? It's the most valuable thing that's free and can completely transform your life. Like, all these small decisions that I've made have resulted in me being here today, and I'm happy where I am. And not just in my transition, but also in my career. I'm like a decade now doing product design in tech, and I have a life that I'm very thankful for. And when I started like recognizing that I had personal growth problems, which was like in college, or even like in high school, like I was shy, I wasn't good at speaking, I didn't have many friends, I felt very embarrassed to talk about things, I couldn't talk about things, like the list goes on. Had I just kind of stayed statically and moved just a little bit, I just don't think I'd be in the same place. And, these kinds of investments. So what is the investment that you can make for yourself around looking at something that you don't tend to look at? And can you ask it why it's there? What is it trying to teach you? And how can you nourish it? How can you give it love? Okay, that's kind of the big question, to ask it and to have a conversation with these things that you're holding back and wanting to kind of keep away. I call this, in terms of my transition, the gatekeeper. It's all about working with this this person that's trying to keep you locked away, the true you locked away. They are at the gates, keeping the gate closed, and you are the gatekeeper. You are self-fulfilling and locking yourself in. At the same time, you're also on the other side trying to get yourself out. And so this negotiation and conversation could really help you work with the multi-self, because we have multiple incentives always going on at the same time. You know what I mean? So Molly definitely helped. Friends definitely helped. And when I was at a music festival, it tends to be at music festivals. I guess music festivals for me are very transformative, like open spaces that are more safe to explore yourself in. Like, everyone's dressed up, everyone's dressed a bit different. And so dressing as a non-passing trans woman at these electronic music festivals with friends just made me feel a lot safer than, I don't know, going to a bar or exploring this in just a regular setting. And, I had fishnets and all of that, so I was a bit extra. But I'm just thinking of like cross-dressers and like how sometimes people's only experience of a trans person or trans woman is a non-passing trans woman who like clearly did not fashionably check themselves out before going out. And I think in some part I was also like that, just like a bit obviously trans and non-passing. Yeah. So, just keep that in mind. You are sometimes the first impression of trans people. I've just been thinking about this a lot. Like, do trans people, if you're trans, do you realize that sometimes you may be the only trans person that cis people ever encounter? And it's on you to also know that you're setting their expectations or their impression of what interacting with a trans person is like. And they are going to talk to other people, not necessarily about interacting with you, but they're going to use their interaction with you as a reference for anything to do with trans issues. Oh, did that person seem like a person, or were they an asshole, or were they really super weird? You know, all of that kind of stuff. Just, you know, think about the grander cause of being trans. Try and represent us in a respectful way. Except if you're in the club, you better get slutty and have a really good time. On to the next question. So, hi Ashi, thank you so much for your videos and for setting up this community. I've been thinking about what masculinity and femininity means to me. I enjoyed watching your video on masculinity and femininity. By the way, if you guys want to see that one, it's called The Yin Yang of Masculinity and Femininity Being Transgendered. You can just search that on my YouTube channel. It was a really great discussion from an abstract spiritual perspective, and I liked the example that you were giving about articulating yourself. It would be really cool to hear you speaking about a wider set of examples about masculinity and femininity, maybe like body language and social roles, etc., and how you've navigated the balance between these two. Well, this is like such a pertinent topic because we were just talking about earlier my non-binary questioning. I'm like going through another questioning phase right now, I suppose. But yeah, like, so expression of masculine and femininity is like an odd thing because you could say on one level it's culturally constructed, but I think on another level there is some kind of like almost biological expression, and I don't mean biological like XY chromosomes, like what, I'm gonna move like an XX or I'm gonna move like an XY, like no, not like that, but your brain, your physiological system, your heart rate, your muscles, your nervous system, all of these things can be in different states. And when you're like very, very tense or very, very stressed, is that masculine? Is that feminine? I don't know. I feel like high anxiety, high stress can be more of a masculine energy, and like calm, like smooth, slower emotions could be more of a feminine energy. And like maybe it's not masculine and feminine, maybe it's just yin and yang. Motherfuckers, let's do this. Yin and yang. Yeah, it's like it's polarities, right? Moving between these two energy fields, and in any kind of connection, everyone has this yin and yang, this energy balance. And for me, what I have spent a lot of time learning is learning to find the yang. The yin is like the higher energy stuff. The yang is the smoother, calmer energy stuff. I think that's right. Someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But like finding the heart space. Okay, so I have an entire series, which you can find on my website, about embracing your femininity, where I go into this like into like full hour lecture series with like charts and like guided meditations and stuff. And if you want to buy that, it's there. I've had a lot of good responses from people that have tried it. So if you want to do a deep dive on femininity, especially embracing it, I've definitely got you, girl. But like to kind of yoink or pull something out of there that I found really relevant here, the heart space. This one is something that a lot of trans people that use this program have a hard time getting into. I have a heart meditation, and this is like a fundamental, like foundational meditation to really help you embrace your femininity. And I find that when I come from my heart, I come from a present space, and I'm in this more open state of mind, this femininity just naturally finds its expression. And I was kind of like confused as to why people had a hard time with this exercise, and I realized that the people that were having a hard time were people that were really smart and engineers or very successful, just like very cognitively loaded. I'm also a pretty cognitively loaded person, if you can't already tell. And I realized that I've spent almost my entire life learning how to get out of the mind and into the body, where some people may just intuitively be in their body and then they're learning how to develop their mind more. I think if you're watching this video, you're probably more on the mind side because, I mean, I'm not presenting a lot of just, physical hotness right now. I mean, boobs, but no, like not for today. But so getting in touch with your heart, I had to reflect on this because I thought to myself, God, there's so many people that are stuck on this exercise. It's intuitive to me because I've found that path and it's taken me years to get there and I'm there. And people are trying this the first time and they're failing and they're trying again and again and they still seem stuck. I mean, first of all, it takes a long time to get there. So you got to spend a lot of energy. But the other thing is getting in touch with your heart can be really simple. You just do things that activate the heart and overactivate the heart. So go running, start getting that going. And when you get that going, start to feel it, start to develop a connection with it. I think when you're mind dominated, especially our society, you place your consciousness up here, and this is where you put a lot of your activity and you put a lot of it's like your central command system exists here. You think, you make a decision based off of an internal conversation, and then you move, right? Like that. Is that how you think? Is that how you make decisions? And so if that's how you do things, which I think most people do, you lose a connection to the heart. The heart may be saying different things, and it doesn't speak in an internal dialogue of language. It speaks in a feeling that's more nuanced and takes more time to develop a language for understanding. So can you do things like dancing is a great example as well. Do things to cultivate your connection with the heart, whether that's playing some music, dancing, going for a run, what else, like swimming, or just having cozy conversations with friends for prolonged periods of time where you get that serotonin and the cuddle drugs. What is it? I think it's serotonin and oxytocin. If you can get some oxytocin time, that's like the deep cuddle vibes. Like that's going to bring you into heart space. And then see if you can shift your locus of control, like detach your control and decision making from here and move it to here. And the way that I experience it is it's almost like I visualize moving my command center, like how I'm seeing the world, to here. And when you do that shift, you may find that you're having a lot of stuckness in your throat because oftentimes to reduce the amount of stimulation from the heart energy, you will cut off your connection to your throat so you can isolate the mind. So also like noticing your connection with your throat, which is the center of your expression, in the Indian chakra system. I think also in the Chinese energy arts as well. But like kind of like allowing yourself to move through your throat and into your heart, and allowing the heart to then communicate up through your throat into your mind. That's a very disorienting thing. It feels like the entire world has flipped upside down. And so it takes some effort and practice to start working with that discomfort. Yeah, I can go on a whole topic about visualization and this and that. But yeah, if you really want this, I've got a series, a meditation series. You can buy it. You can support me. And if you have more questions, feel free to drop me some comments. I can also make another video about this. Moving on. Mammograms from Laura. It's not fun getting your boobs crunched in an x-ray machine. Ultrasound is much more pleasant. When you're told you have to wait a month for a biopsy, it's a major bummer. Yeah, it's a major bummer, but there was no question there, Laura. Okay. Melody, voice dysphoria. I don't think you've covered this one. I've transitioned full-time, and like many of my friends, I think I've done a pretty darn good job of transitioning. But a femme voice is still so frustrating, elusive, and a major part of my journey in dysphoria at the minute. You know, I think I'm going to make a totally separate video for this because this is a giant topic. And I'm already kind of going over it. Do we have some smaller ones? I'd like to know about traveling abroad, finding safe, supportive communities, and how to interact with the TSA. Yeah, I could do this one. So, traveling abroad, don't go to places where trans people are not really welcome. I would say probably Eastern Europe, and some places in South America for sure, and Africa probably not, and then Asia. I haven't done all of Asia, but Thailand has been great. I think the other Asian countries should be fine. I don't know how China is, but there's not a lot of street aggression. Depends on how passing you are, right? That's the unfortunate truth. But when I was non-passing, I felt a lot of negativity in Eastern Europe for sure. Berlin was great. I would typically just travel to regular cities, and you don't need to go to open, like, explicitly LGBT friendly cities. You just need to avoid going to places that are like pretty harsh against LGBT. You know what I mean? Finding safe, supportive communities, Facebook groups, that's a really good one. You can always find different groups by just searching and then asking in there, like, are there communities to tap into? I joined like trans in Berlin or whatever when I lived there, and I needed help figuring out how to get injectable estradiol because it's not prescribed there. And I got a connection to like a Ukraine, a person that manufactured it in Ukraine on their own. And that helped me a lot, right? And that was the trans community that I tapped into. Interacting with the TSA, I just go through the regular machine, and if they stop me, I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm trans. And if they need to. Now that I'm passing, it's not much of a problem. But if you're not passing, you got to tell them, hey, I'm trans. I would feel more comfortable if, X, Y, and Z. And you should probably put in some effort to present that you're trans, right? Like if you're dressed completely as what looks like a male, and then you're like, I'm a trans woman and I want to be patted down by a woman, dude, they're not going to give you, girl, they're not going to give you a lot of leeway there. And you're going to run into maybe some problems. Maybe they'll respect you, or maybe they'll just be like, no, we're giving you a dude, right? Like, and now you're representing the trans community. So do you want to be representing it that way? Like, even if you're non-passing, wearing like a dress or wearing something feminine that can outwardly show you've committed to being trans, and you're like, hey, like, I'm a trans woman. I know that I'm not passing. Can I get a woman to pat me down? Because I got a lot of pat downs. And sometimes I wouldn't be passing, but typically when they pat me down, I'm like, oh, by the way, I don't even say anything anymore. They pat me down, they kind of feel it, and they're like, uh-huh. It's like they've seen enough trans people now that they're like used to it. So I wouldn't even worry about the TSA. My friend, though, she had a lot of problems with the TSA, but I think that she just had a lot of authority problems. So she just would make it a bigger issue, and then there would be all this kind of drama at the TSA, and then you get like put into a room and this and that. It's just keep it low drama, keep it easy. Like, yeah, it sucks. It's a stupid process, but like, dude, it's like, just get on the plane. Like, the world sucks sometimes. People are assholes. Just, they're not trying to make your day harder. They're trying to do their job. Understand their job is sometimes confusing to them because they haven't processed you being trans, but that's okay. You're only going to interact with them for 5 seconds, right? Just try and move on with that. Warrior mentality, motherfucker. Maybe a video on life after transition. This is from Spark. Like, if when you pass, or are you largely done with transitioning to a big degree, what do you do once you've digested that? How do you get direction? Well, I'm not done with my transition, so I can't fully speak on that, but I'm pretty much at the end of my transition, just like bottom surgery, and that's it. I think what I hear from a lot of people who have finished their transition, or what I've seen as a pattern, is people that are like making their transition their everything kind of like end up in this place where they're like, gosh, where do I find meaning now? Like, what do I do? And so that's something to think about, is like, how are you investing yourself in other topics and other things that you're doing to make your life better and more fulfilling, and not just identifying with your transition. The number one annoying thing that I find with trans women, or just trans people, is all they want to talk about is their transition. And I just, like, internally I'm eye rolling, because I'm like, I've been through this a bunch of times. I have this YouTube channel. Like, I understand it's like a a huge focal point of your life experience, and I respect that, but I'm bored. And I'd rather talk about something else. I'd rather talk about what you're interested in, or what you do, or what things are cool. Like, I don't want to talk about like how you did your makeup this weekend and how it was amazing. I get it. Yes, girl, but no, girl. And I think that's something to be aware of, is when you're transitioning, like, do you make it your entire story, or is there something more to it? This YouTube channel has been a part of it has just been me transitioning on camera, but also just like, I want to speak, I want to enjoy making this, and I talk about other topics, but I think people just like me talking about sex, but that's another topic. Gosh, this list is so long. All right. Shit, how far are we in here? Maybe I should just keep going. All right, I'm gonna just keep going. This has turned into a podcast. All right. I too would love to see this covered. I feel like, wait. Okay, so this is going back, way back to Junie, who also had this question. I see that there are many trans people that only go to find out quite late in life, like after 20 or 30, but if in a future not so far, we all could have a second chance to be born again. Have you ever heard of David Sinclair? He's one of many scientists researching on healthier aging and even reversal. Imagine if we could go back and be young and have all our cells return to perform a full body reshaping. Would you do it? And more realistically, would you be up to reverse your age back to 18 and have the chance to prolong your life as a woman? Duh. Yeah. Why would I say no to being 18 and being a hot version of me at 18? This is I don't know if this is this is a dumb question, but I appreciate it. It's just like an obvious yes. Why would I not want to be, like, who would you want to be 18 but retain all your knowledge that you have now? Like, yes, obviously. Maybe this topic goes a bit beyond being born cis to another gender, but I can't help myself contemplating the idea of getting younger and more time as close to a woman as possible. What do you think? Perhaps too far from topics? Okay, so I did actually make a video about this. I think it's like called translator-ing or translator, or aging as a trans woman. I think there's like a lot of regret that you have at whatever stage you get to where you realize that you should transition, and you go, fuck, I wasted all this time like debating on this answer that's so clear and obvious now. And I feel like I have so much to catch up on. I have so much life that I want to live. The reason why I went to Berlin was, even though that I was 34, maybe 34 or 35 at the time. The reason why I went to Berlin is because I felt like I was in my 18 to 21-year-old phase, where I was like, I need to live life. I need to like experience what it's like to go out to the clubs and hook up and have all these experiences, because I have so much to catch up on and so much to grow through. And I mean, I definitely grew through it. There were definitely some stupid guys that I did fuck, and it was not very good at all, and definitely helped me figure out what I do and what I don't like. But here I am, and I feel like I've tried out all of those things that are the impulses and the fantasies, and I'm like, okay, I think I have a much better idea of who I want romantically and what I need to live as. Yeah, I guess the thing that I wanted to mention was estradiol does make you look younger than testosterone. And if you get facial feminization surgery, which is now getting covered by some health insurances and in some states, it's going to shave years off. I'm not a typical result, but I'm 38, right? And people age me somewhere between 28 to 32, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with being 6 years younger, and maybe I'll stay like this for a while. I don't know, but something people, I think, who are transitioning older don't necessarily anticipate is that they'll just look younger because of the estrogen and the fact that you now have surgery as an option. You can get like forehead surgery, which is a pretty important one, and they'll do like a light facelift so you'll lose any crow's feet there. Of course, you got to do skincare and all of that, and there's a lot of skincare stuff you need to catch up on. Avoid the sun as well. But yeah, you'll look younger. Okay, jumping back. I need to. This is a long video. People are kind of commenting on the same thing. Transhuman. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny to me. Like, being trans feels like being like a cyborg. It feels a little bit futuristic because you're able to just augment your body and change your gender and stuff. Like, that's pretty fucking cyberpunk. Okay. People commenting on this comment, not a question, find it extremely interesting too. People are just talking about how interesting this question is. Yeah, people are just debating on this. Okay, Chloe. Hey, Ashley, I would love to see some more content on the inner work, especially when it comes to your personal habits that helped you in your transitioning. Okay, last question. Okay. Inner work, habits. So I think you have to figure out what works for you. And what I would ask is, where are the points in your life where you already have routines, such as brushing your teeth, getting up in the morning, making breakfast, or later in the day where you can add additional habits? The things that have really stuck for me, I have ADHD. I'm obsessive compulsive, and I work remotely, and I'm just giving you context. I've tried a lot of different meditation techniques, and I've done a lot of energy related stuff, and I've found that the thing that works for me is when I wake up, I do it slow. I try not to wake up with an alarm. I try to just wake up at the right time. I try to go to bed at the right time. I try to wake up at the right time. And then I spend just a few minutes gathering my energy, gathering my chi, just getting connected with the body. Get out of the bed. After I line myself, do a bit of stretching on the floor, and then I go through my day. What I also use is I use an application for notes, like it's called Bear, and you can use anything, but I use Bear, and I just write thoughts in it as thoughts come up or things that I need to keep track of. I also use Google Calendar for time tracking of anything that I have scheduled across work or personal life. It's all within Google Calendar, so I can stay organized. And whenever I add things on the fly, I can just use my phone. So that way, if I'm out with friends and they're like, hey, let's do something next weekend, I could just put it in my calendar, forget about it, and not have to worry about it, and know that when I review my calendar in the evening or later in the week, I'll see it there. So that's something I definitely do. I always try to respond to all messages that I get in my text messages. My emails I'm not so good at. I do limit the amount of social media I consume. I find that's very wasteful. It kind of sucks energy out of me, and it takes away my creativity. It takes away my happiness and satisfaction, and makes me just feel less. I don't know if you get that too, but I feel like generally this is something that a lot of people experience with social media. And so I try to limit my exposure to it. I don't use Instagram so much because it's too highly fine-tuned, and I definitely don't use TikTok. I'm occasionally on Reels, and I'm occasionally on Shorts, and I'm occasionally on Reddit, but I'm trying not to consume too much. I try to keep my stimulation low so then I have more energy to stimulate, if that makes sense. So, something to think about there is your consumption habits with media. There's this book called The Artist's Way, which is a great book if you're looking to develop your creativity. And it talks about how when you are consuming and like pulling in a lot of stuff that's very stimulating, it's actually hard to be a stimulating person because you're overstimulated and you're oversatiated with all the stimulation. So to kind of resolve that, you actually spend time unstimulating, like just not doing much, not reading a book, just staring at the wall, whatever. Doing this for a few days will actually start to swell up creativity within you that you can then start to express and do. So I think those were some of the things. Is there anything else in there that was definitely helpful? I mean, early in my transition, I had a lot of things on the checklist and do list. And I'd make just like long to-do lists and try to kind of hit away at them as I had the energy to do it. So it wasn't like, all right, do all these items on Monday, then do all these items on Tuesday. It's like, instead, when you have energy, Ashley, go through some of these items. And when you feel like you're out of energy, just kind of put it down and then come back to it later. Do it like once a week. Try and come back to it and progress it. At this point, the things that I'm progressing in my transition is voice lessons. I'm going to go back and I'm going to do more voice lessons because I think I can get better. And then the other thing is just like my bottom surgery. But this is more just keeping it on schedule, continuing to go to electrolysis, making sure that all the paperwork's in place and stuff like that. Okay? So thanks for joining me today. If you like what you heard, please consider supporting me and subscribe. And I'll see you in another episode soon. Bye.